Hello everybody and welcome to my bookshelves. As you can definitely tell by the title, that's why you clicked on this video, we're going through my physical TBR. If you are new here, then hi, my name's Brie. Make sure you click the subscribe button because it means the world to me. But if you are new here, we did a big unhaul a few videos ago when I moved into this place. We did a massive book unhaul because I'm moving to the other side of the world in literally 4 months. So I'm trying to get rid of some of these books, like the books that I know for a fact that I'm definitely not going to get to. So all the books we have here are the books that I either really want to get to or I do plan on really getting to in the next 4 months. I'll honestly try, okay? So this is my physical TBR. It's probably been downsized from my last physical TBR video, which I think I did at the start of this year maybe, I can't remember, but because we have unhauled over 100 books, the physical TBR has definitely decreased. I want to put a rough number of about 87. That's what I want to say. I say there's 87 books on my physical TBR. That's my guess. Put your guess in the comments right now to see if you get it right. Thanks. But I am going to be putting like a little counter somewhere on the screen while we go through. I'm not going to count them in my head. I'm going to count them while I edit because my brain will not be able to function if I'm trying to speak to you and hold numbers in my head because my brain doesn't work that way. But I usually, for my physical TBR videos, I usually like take all of my physical TBR off of my shelf and I sit down with you and I go through each and every book. But I thought I'm not doing that this time because I have literally just cleaned my flat top to bottom. It's spotless, and the thought of having to take all of my books off and then put them all back on is my worst nightmare right now. So we're just gonna go through them. So it's kind of like a bookshelf tour as well because I'm gonna take you through my bookshelves, show you what's on my TBR, sit down with you, go through my TBR cart and show you what's on there as well. And it's just a fun bookish video, so grab yourself a drink because it could be a long one. Actually, I'm gonna go grab myself a fun drink as well. I've got water, but I'm gonna grab my fun drink. So while I grab my fun drink, you go grab your fun drink. Fun drink has been acquired. I just got myself a cherry tango, obviously, because it's my obsession. So I think I'm gonna start with my bookshelves. We can just go through each shelf as we go along and then we can sit down and go through my TBR card. So let's get, just while I'm standing, we'll get the books on the bookshelf out the way. I have no idea how I'm gonna do this. I haven't thought this through. I think I'm just gonna keep you there and I'll just take the books down as I go. So I think I'm just gonna start with romance. We'll go with fantasy. On my top shelf of my romance for here, we've literally just got all like random standalones and things. Some of them are on my TBR, some of them I've already read. That's one thing I want to preface is some books on my shelf are on my TBR, some books, like, because I can't all fit my physical TBR on my TBR cart. So some of the books are on my shelf. So first up we have got Love and Other Words by Christina Lauren. This has been on my TBR for way too long. I need to get to this. I think I'm going on holidays soon, okay? I'm going on holidays. So I'm going to be taking this on holidays with me. I'm going to Italy. I'm going to take like two physical books with me on holidays. Will I read it? I don't know. We'll see. But I want to read it before summer ends. And then we've got Book Lovers by Emily Henry. This is oh no, it's not the only Emily Henry book I have left to read. So I've read Beach Read, I've read Funny Story, I've read Happy Place. I haven't read Great Big Beautiful Life and I haven't read this yet. I don't think she has any other book. Oh no, she has You and Me on Vacation. I'm sure that's been turned into a film or a series on Amazon Prime, I think. Maybe. But I do want to read that as well. I want to read that before I watch the series or TV show, whatever it is. But I did, when I read Beach Read, I did swear off Emily Henry because I was like, she's not my cup of tea. And then a few years ago I read Happy Place. A few years ago, it was last year, I read Happy Place. What am I on about? Last year when I read Happy Place, it was like a 4.75, 4.5, can't remember, but I was like, I love this. I'm gonna read more Emily Henry books. And then I recently read Funny Story and I loved that. So I want to read Book Lovers because I'm sure Beach Read is the most popular one out of all of them. I think everyone loves Beach Read the most. I feel like that was the one that blew up on TikTok, and so I think that's why I read that. But I just wasn't a big fan. It was just like a 3-star. It wasn't anything out of this world. So I'm intrigued to see what Book Lovers is going to be like because it does sound like it has a similar premise to Beach Read. But someone did also tell me not to read too many Emily Henry books back to back because they can kind of start to feel like the same story. So I haven't long read Funny Story. I read that in the video where I read Sarah Crowley's favourite books, so go check that out if you haven't. So because I haven't long read that, I'm going to wait like another month or two before I go in with this, even though it is a summer romance. But I'll try and read this before the end of September, maybe. Okay, I apologise apologise if you've moved, but I had to change my SD card out. But where were we? Okay, so we've just looked at book lovers and we've got these 2 Kennedy Ryan books. One of them is on my TBR for the month of August. So we've got Before I Let Go, which is the first book, and then we've got This Could Be Us, which is the second book. There is also a third book that's come out, so I'm trying to get through these 2 so I can get to the third book. But I read a Kennedy Ryan book recently, and apparently that they're all very heart-wrenching, really dark topics, things that require trigger warnings basically. So definitely read trigger warnings if you are going to read a Kennedy Ryan book, because apparently they all require trigger warnings. So I've got this on my TBR for the month of August, and I am hoping to get to it. I've got a big block set out for my TBR takedown, and I'm hoping to get to that within then, because I've been slacking on my TBR takedowns because I've been so busy and unwell and just everything. So I'm hoping my TBR takedowns can resume for the month of August. But I'm very excited to get to these. And then we've got these 2 books at the end here, which is The Slowest Burn by Sarah Chamberlain and Designs on You by JC Burton. Again, these are just 2 like summer romances that I do really want to get to. I think this one, they're like a chef of some sort, and she's a writer, like a ghost writer maybe, I don't know, but I think I've seen this cover and I was like, summer romance, yes please. And then again with this, I picked this up because it was more like an interior designer, so I think she is an interior designer, and her sister hires her to design her brand new home with her boyfriend, with a younger brother of the boyfriend. I don't know, he's around, so he's involved and he's the love interest. It didn't really say. I thought he was going to be involved in like the designs of something, but it doesn't really say anything. Oh no, he is. Oh, I don't know, I have no idea. But anyway, we got these 2 on my TBR, which maybe I'll get to this summer, I don't know. Right, moving on to our next shelf. This is like my small town country vibe shelf. We've got all of my Elsie Silver books, which I've read, and then I've only got 1 book here to read, which is Wild Side. I've been putting this off because I'm not the biggest fan of this series. I don't know why. They're just not my favourite. I just don't think anything she writes will live up to the Chestnut Springs series for me. I have no idea why, but that series and those books and those characters just hold a very special place in my heart, and I loved that series with all of my being. It was the first ever cowboy romance that I ever read, and I just loved them. Like 2 of those books I think I could reread until the day I die, which is Heartless and Reckless. Those are my 2 favourite books from the series, and I don't know, the series just isn't living up to it. I am enjoying like the little slight crossovers that we get, and I thought I was going to enjoy it because every book's about a single dad, but for some reason I'm just not clicking with them. And then we've got, I'm gonna have to take these off, but we've got the entire Indigo Ridge series, which I haven't read yet, but I do plan on getting to. So we have got Indigo Ridge by Devney Perry, obviously, Juniper Hill, Garnet Flat, Jasper Vale, and Crimson River. I just realised it's not called the Indigo Ridge series, it's called the Eden series. But I have all of these. I haven't read a single one, but I do really want to read them because I was watching and she said that she really enjoyed them and she was trying to get through the series. It might be someone else. I've got this entire series that I need to get to, but they are all on Kindle Limited, I think, so maybe sometime I will get through them, but for some reason they've been on my TBR for so long and I've just never felt the urge to pick them up. And then moving across, we've got our Hannah Bonham Young books. So I have read 2 of these and I've got 2 here that I haven't read. So we've got Out of the Woods, which is kind of like the second book to Out on a Limb, and it follows Sarah and Caleb, which are very big characters within Out of a Limb. They're like the few main characters' best friends basically, but they are already together. They're already married, I think, and this is about them sort of like reconnecting. I feel like they probably feel like they've distanced a bit, and it's about them sort of like reconnecting their marriage. And then we've got Next to You, which is again, it's either the second or the first to Next of Kin. Now I did read Next of Kin, did thoroughly enjoy that, and then this is like either the second or the first to that. Lane, I'm trying to think if we've met Lane in that Next of Kin. I have no idea, but we've got these 2 that I do want to get to, and I will get to eventually because I do really enjoy Hannah Bonham Young's books. And then moving on to our other shelf. I've read everything on this shelf, so we've got like my little Jessa Hastings corner right here, and then we've got my Anna Huang books. There's only 4 books here. I did have the King Hastings series, but I didn't really like the series, so I got rid of it. So we've just got my Twisted series right here. And then moving down, we have the start of my very big hockey romance. Well, sports romance, we'll call it, but it's majority hockey, because that's my favourite thing to read. But we've got my hockey romance here. I've read majority of these. I'm up to date with most of these. I think the only things that I need to read are these 3 right here, which are the Playing for Keeps series. So we have got Consider Me by Becca Mack, Play With Me by Becca Mack, and Unravel Me by Becca Mack. They're obviously all part of the series. The only reason why I keep putting them off is because they're quite big books, they're quite chunky, and also I've seen so many mixed reviews. I was really excited to go in with these because that's all I seen was good reviews, but then recently I've just been seeing really mixed reviews where people saying that it's really cringy, it's really repetitive, and I'm just like, I don't know what to do. Like, do I read it? Do I not? Obviously I will read it, I'll form my own opinion, but for now it's not high on my TBR. I apologise. And then continuing on down the bottom, we've got a continuation of like the sports romance section. It goes into like a random bit of romance on this shelf. So continuing on with the hockey romances, we have got these 3 C.R. Jane books. So we have got The Puck in Wrong Number, The Puck in Wrong Guy, and The Puck in Wrong Date. I don't know whether they're in order. I have no idea which book goes first. I think I actually have no idea which book goes first, but I'm excited to get to these. They're quite short, they're very floppy as well. For some reason I'm more intrigued to read a book if it's floppy. Don't ask me why. They're hockey romances, so I will probably get to them very soon, and I think they're on Kindle Unlimited. I could be wrong, but I do think they're on Kindle Unlimited, and again, if a book's on Kindle Unlimited I am more likely to read that. Oh my god. And then we have these 4 Chloe Walsh books, which is what I have left to read in the Boys of Torment series. I've read the first 13 books, which is Binding 13 and Keeping 13, and then I've got left, let me show them to you in order if I can. Oh my god, these books are so big and heavy. So what I have left is Saving 6 and Redeeming 6, which is Joey and Aoife's books, and then we have Taming 7, which is a Gibbsy and Claire book, and then this is the most recent release, which is a Releasing 10, and this is a Lizzie and Huey book. So I will eventually get through these because I tried, as much as I loved the first 2 books, they were both 5 stars for me. They broke me. I couldn't read these books back to back. Like, I could not have finished the first 13 books and gone straight into the Saving and Redeeming 6 books, because I don't think I could have reread what I just read from Joey's POV, because Joey, he's going to break my heart, and reading his POV and his story, I know for a fact, is going to destroy me, and I just don't think I'm ready for that yet. So I will get to these when I'm ready and when my heart is ready. Okay, so left over on that shelf we have 3 books kind of ish. We have 2 books on 1 series. We've got Frederick Backman's Bear Town. Now I have given this a soft DNF. I tried to read this in one of my TBR takedown videos, I can't remember which one, and I was not in the mood for this. I've just never, I know it's really bad and it's really bad for me to say, but I've never really branched out of romance, or of like a romance or thriller or a fantasy sort of genre of a book, and this is like a general fiction, and I just wasn't in the mood. I need to be in the right headspace for something like this, and I need to branch out more, and I don't think going into Bear Town as my first sort of like general fiction is the best thing to do. I think I need to go in more of like I need like a transition book. Let me know of like any good general fiction books that I could read as someone that's never read a general fic book. Give me some transition books, please. And then another set of books that have been in my TBR for quite a while are these Kate Stewart books. Now I've been putting these off again because apparently they're going to destroy me, and I don't think I'm ready for something like this to destroy me. I've just been reading so many like gut-wrenching, heart-rending books recently that after I finish those I'm like, I can't read another gut-wrenching book. So there's a lot of these books that I put off because I hear that they're so gut-wrenching, and I'm just like, I can't do that anymore. I really can't. So we've got Flock, which is the first book, the second book is Exodus, and then the third book is The Finishing Line. And then lastly we have got Ghosted, again another book that's been on my TBR for a while. This is by J.M. Darthauer, but I'm sure it's this book that Sarah Crawley absolutely loves. I'm sure she's recommended it to a few people. I think it's a 5-star book of hers, and maybe that's why I bought it, I have no idea. But he's a troubled young actor and she's a single mother. It sounds like it's going to be heart-wrenching. Oh, a second chance romance. It says on the front, a second chance romance. Why have I never realised that before? One of my favourite tropes is a second chance romance. I love that. Okay, maybe this has moved up to the top of my TBR. And then right at the bottom of my shelf, I've just got my very small collection of dark romances, which is probably going to grow because I do want to get some more dark romances. I want to try and get in some Rina Kent books. I want some more Sophie Lark books, and it's probably just going to slowly grow. And then the only 2 books on my TBR that are on this shelf are Deadly Occupant by Mads Rafferty. This came out last year, I think it was, and it's meant to be like a horror thriller kind of vibe with 4 college best friends. But you guys know I love Mads Rafferty. I'm in the middle of rereading her Air Broken Fate series. Love that. I'm currently on the 3rd book, which is Air Broken Soul. I haven't read that. I've done a reread of the first 2 books and I'm on the 3rd book, which is Air Broken Souls, which is a new read for me. But maybe when it's like October time, I can give this a read. And then we've got the second book in the Natural series, which is Kill Instinct by Jennifer Lynn Barnes. This is kind of like a young adult thriller mystery kind of book. They're all like teenagers and they get recruited into the FBI program where they all have like this special set of skills. So the FBI recruits them into this program for their skills and they help solve cold cases basically. The first book was really good. It was alright. I did enjoy it. So I do need to get to the second book of this. Now welcome to my fantasy shelf. There's probably quite a lot of books I need to get through that are on my TBR. I also have a lot of fantasy books on my TBR cart. I just have a lot of fantasy books on my physical TBR because I love just buying fantasy books. So starting out with the top shelf. The top shelf is kind of like a adult sort of fantasy shelf, and they're also like series as well. I like to keep my series together, but we first got the Book of Azrael series here. Now I have got 2 books to read now. I have read the first book, but I do want to do a reread of the first book. But we've got the second book, which is The Throne of Broken Gods, and then the second book, which is The Dawn of Cursed Queen, and they're both by Amber V. Nicole. I'm not sure if the 4th book is out or if it's coming out. I know that there is a 4th book coming or is out, but I thoroughly enjoyed the first book. That was a 5-star for me. I enjoyed it so much, but I do want to do a reread of it because I haven't read it in a while and I feel like I'll have to do a reread before I continue on with the series, because even though I remember what the premise was, there's a lot of like plot points and world building and things that I completely forgot about, and the world building was kind of intense and it was kind of hard for me to wrap my head around. So I think I'm gonna have to do a reread of that before I go into these, because if I go in with book number 2 without doing a reread, I won't know where I am. And then we've got these 2 books by Stacia Stark. You've probably seen the first book in the series so many times because it's been on and off of my monthly TBRs for so long, but we've got A Court This Cruel and Lovely, and then the second book, which is A Kingdom This Cursed and Empty. I don't know why I haven't read these. I've seen Amy read these and Amy really loved them, or I should say really. I think she just really enjoyed them. So I don't want to read these. For some reason I just keep on putting them off, and I don't know why, because they're floppy and I think they're on Kindle Unlimited as well, so you know, it checks all the boxes. I don't know why I haven't read them. And then we've got these 3 Kerry Maniscalco books. We've got the second and the third book in the Kingdom of the Wicked series, which is Kingdom of the Feared and Kingdom of the Cursed. I don't know which one's first. I have no idea. Okay, so this is book number 2 and this is book number 3. I always mix them up. I never know which one is second and which one is third, but this is second and this is third. I've read the first book. I read it back in October time, and I think I might just see if there's a recap video, because I don't want to do a full reread because I didn't enjoy it that much. But I do want to continue on with the series, but it's been quite a while, so that's my issue with the minute. I'm trying my best to read series more close together, because otherwise I just forget, especially with fantasy series. With romances it's not that much, but like with fantasies there's so many like things you need to remember about the world, the magic system, the characters, the lore, the prophecies, like anything. You need to remember everything, and I leave it too long in between books that I'm forgetting. I have to do a reread. That's what happened with the Air Broken Fate. I had to do a reread of the first 2 books so I could remember what the hell is going on before going in with the third book. So I'm trying my best recently to try and read books close together. Only in fantasy though. And then this is the Throne of the Fallen, which is again by Kerry Maniscalco, but this is the spin-off series to Kingdom of the Wicked, so I kind of don't want to read this until I finish that series, so that's why it's on my TBR, because I haven't finished. Once I finish Kingdom of the Wicked series, then I will go in with this. And then we've got the second and the third book after Poppy War by R.F. Kuang. I really enjoyed the first book. It was so different to anything I've ever read before. I thoroughly enjoyed it. I listened to the audiobook while I read along because the world building was quite intense and it was quite difficult for me to get into, so listening to the audiobook and like doing the whole immersive reading experience really helped, so I do recommend that if you're going to read the series. But definitely look up trigger warnings. But I don't know which one's second and third, I have no idea. Okay, so this is the second one, which is Dragon Republic, and then Burning God is the third one. Again, it's been a while since I've read the first one, so I'm gonna have to do this sort of, I'm not gonna reread Poppy War, I'm not gonna put myself through that, but I'm gonna do a whole recap, because there's definitely a recap out there somewhere on the internet about the first book, so I'll do a recap before we go into this, because I kind of remember the gist of it, but I just need to know like the bigger points, if that makes sense. And then a series that I'm newly obsessed with, which is the Plated Prisoner series. In my 24 readathon coming up, which I'm actually uploading right now as I'm filming this, I read Guild I read, which is the first one, and then we've got the second book, which is Glint, and then the third book, which is Gleam. There are more books out. I think there's 5 books out, but I only have the first 3 books on my TBR at the minute. I'm obsessed with the series. I've only read the first book. That was a 4.25. I was thoroughly obsessed with it. Like, I was so obsessed with it. I was just like, what? I wasn't expecting. It was so different to anything I've ever read, and it was so refreshing. The storyline, the plot, the magic system, the world, it was just so refreshing. Okay, everything, I was obsessed. But moving on to our next shelf, which is kind of like my indie published shelf / GLA shelf, because that takes up half of my shelf. So we've got Fall of Riven and Wrath by here, which has been in my TBR for again quite a while, but I'm sure someone has told me, I've seen it somewhere, someone has said not to read this unless you've read, my mother's ringing me. No, where was I before my mum rang me? Yeah, I seen somewhere that someone said not to read this until you've read Blood and Ash and Flesh and Fire series. Well, this goes in somewhere. I'm gonna search her up. Okay, so this is part of the universe. So this is the Awakening series. So the universe consists of Blood and Ash series, Flesh and Fire series, and Awakening series, which is this book. So this does slot in somewhere. Where is the thing? Okay, so it slots in. This is the thing right here. So as you can see, it goes around that way, and it's meant to be read after Flesh and Fire 4, which I actually don't own Flesh and Fire 4. It's meant to be read after then, and then you go in with the Blood and Ash 5. Okay, so that's alright, because there's been a few times where I was going to read this, but I've seen people read this as like on its own anyway, and people have absolutely loved it. But if I'm already doing the whole reading order of Blood and Ash and Flesh and Fire, I may as well slot this in where it needs to be anyway. So for all the people that want me to read this, you'll have to wait for me to catch up on my reading order of Flesh and Fire and Blood and Ash, because I'm only now about to start Flesh and Fire 1. So then I've still basically got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 books to read before I get to this one. So hold your boat, okay? Hold on. But speaking about the Flesh and Fire and Blood and Ash series, we've got these books that I need to read. No, they're in publication. They're not in series order. I've like sorted them out through reading order that I'm going to do, because it's just easier for me to remember. So then we've got A Shadow in the Ember, which is book number 1 in the Flesh and Fire series, and then we've got book number 4 in the Blood and Ash series, which is The War of Two Queens. And then we've got Flesh and Fire 2, which is A Light in the Flame. And then after that we've got book number 3. Yeah, Flesh and Fire 3, which is A Fire in the Flesh. And then after A Fire in the Flesh, I'm meant to go in with A Flesh and Fire 4, which is Dawn of Blood and Ash, which I don't own. And then lastly, book number 5 of the Blood and Ash books, which is A Soul of Ash and Blood. I need to read that as well. Enough about the Blood and Ash universe. Let's move over to this section. So we have got my Mazrafty books right here, and as I've already mentioned, I've read those books, and the only book that's on my TBR, which I'm actually in the middle of, I'm on like chapter 8, I'm not that far into it, is Ever Broken Souls. Highly recommend the series. It's definitely a 5-star series for me. I love them. The first 2 books are 5 stars for me. Devoured them. So good. I say this all the time, like, why hasn't Mads got the recognition that she deserves? She needs to be picked up by a publisher. Like, there's so many, no hate, but like there's so many other books that have been picked up by publishers authors just because of like popularity, and I'm just like, they're not even that good, but these are like so good. So everyone go hype up these books, okay? Because my girl Mads, she needs to be traditionally published ASAP. And then obviously we've got my TJ Maxx shelf, which I've read every single book on this shelf, so we're gonna move straight on. And then down here we've basically just got a big Zodiac Academy shelf. That's basically what this shelf is, with a mix of random other books. I have recently finished the Sacred Stone series. I don't want to speak about it. You'll see in my 24 readathon my thoughts and feelings. I wasn't impressed. But then we've got the Pen Call books right here, and the only book that I have left to read is Heat of the Everflame. Now, I've been putting off reading this book because I want to read it when it's kind of close to the 4th book coming out, but Pen Call just will not give us a publication date for this 4th book. So I fear I may have to do, I feel like I'm going to have to read this ASAP and then just do a whole reread of the first 3 books when we finally have a publication date, because when we get close to the publication date I'm probably going to have to do a reread anyway of the first 2 books, so I may as well just read this soon. Do you know what I mean? And then on my Zodiac Academy book, guys, I'm almost finished. We're on the home stretch. I've got 1 more book left. It's so sad. If you watch my TBR video, then I put Zodiac Academy 9 Restless Stars on my TBR for the month of August. I am not ready for this series to end. I'm really not. I feel like I could cry right now. I know for a fact once the series ends, I'm going to be a mess. That's what I'm going to be. I'm going to be a mess. I don't know how this is going to end. I really don't. Now moving on to my YA shelf down the bottom, I've got a bunch of Cassandra Clare books that I haven't read. I haven't read a single one of those, but I do really want to get into the Shadowhunters universe. And then we just got a continuation of like my Stephanie Garber books and just like a bunch of other YA books that I need to get into. Now, again, there's a very specific, not specific, but there's a bunch of different ways you can read the Shadowhunter series. I have one specific reading order in mind, which I don't know what that is. I don't know whether it's chronological order or not. I have no idea. Or like I have no idea what sort of order it is, but this is the one that pops up the most and it's the one that I'm going to go by. But they say you should read the first 3 books in the Mortal Instruments. So the first 3 books in the Mortal Instruments, which is City of Bones, City of Ashes and City of Glass. And then, oh my god, you're meant to go in with the Infernal Devices series and read these 3 books, which is Clockwork Angel, Clockwork Prince and Clockwork Princess. And then after you read those, you're meant to head back into the Mortal Instruments and read the last 4 books, not the last 3 books in the series, which is City of the Fallen, City of Lost Souls and City of Heavenly Fire. And then I haven't got the rest of the books that I need to read. These are just the first books that I picked up that I can read. But I've recently seen that Emmy is reading this series and she's absolutely devouring it, as predicted. But she's loving it so much, and watching her like reactions of this series, I'm like, okay, I guess I've been influenced. I need to read this series. And then lastly on this shelf we've got these 3 books by Laura Sebastian, which are Ash Princess, Ember Queen and Lady Smoke. Now the first book of this, which is Ash Princess, is on my TBR for this month, and I am excited to get to these. These are meant to be YA, but they're meant to give Throne of Glass but condensed down. Now I've said this a million times here, whenever I speak about these books or whenever I speak about Throne of Glass, you've heard me say a million times that I enjoyed Throne of Glass and I enjoyed the plot and the premise, but it was too long of a series that I got bored. If it was condensed down, I would have enjoyed it. If this gives Throne of Glass but condensed down, then I have high hopes. So this is on my August TBR. Then we've got these 3 hardbacks, which were right at the bottom of my shelf. The bottom of my fantasy shelf is kind of bare. It's literally just got 2 hardbacks on there, which was Divine Rivals and Ruthless Vows. And then we've got these 3 hardbacks, which I added on after my unhaul, because I then discovered that I actually wanted to read these books. So we've got Andrea Stewart's The Gods Below, and for some reason I read this, like the blurb and things, and I was like, do you know what? I actually want to read that book. So I kept it. Whether or not I will read it, I don't know. And then this, The Dark Standstill. I've put this on and off unhaul videos so many times. I took it off again. I apologise, but for some reason I just want to read it. This is Once Upon a Time in a Forest of Tangled Secrets. A wild girl and a broken boy fell in love. That's all I need every single time to convince me to keep it. But I never read it. I need help. I do need help. And then we've got Silver in the Bone. Now I do want to read this, but I was going to get rid of it anyway because it was a hardback. But I'm just keeping it as like to remind me to buy the paperback, otherwise I'll forget about it and I'll never read it. But I do really want to read this series by Alexandra Bracken because it's meant to be so good, but I just keep it on my shelf at the minute to remind me to read it and to buy the paperback, because otherwise, out of sight, out of mind, I'll forget about the series. But that was all of my TBR on my shelf. I wonder what it says on the screen right now, how many books that was. I can't remember what number I said. Was it 87? I think so. But now let's move over to my TBR card. I can actually sit down for this part and show you the books. But this is my trusty TBR shelf right here. You can't see it very well, but it served me well. I've had it for a very long time. It holds a lot of books. I get a lot of questions about where it's from. It's from Dunelm. I don't know whether they sell them anymore. I know the one from IKEA is very popular, but the problem with the one with IKEA is you can't fit 2 books back to back like this. You can only fit like one side standing up like a normal book, and then the rest have to sort of like come face out, if that makes sense. But the ones from Dunelm, if you're from the UK, are great. I highly recommend the ones from Dunelm. At the top of my TBR shelf, I always keep my monthly TBR and some books that I really want to get to that month, and like the books that I'm currently reading I do keep on my top shelf but here, just so they're like easy to grab, easy to remember, because like I said, out of sight, out of mind, literally. But there's a few of these that I've already spoken about. So we got One Golden Summer by Callie Fortune. I'm very excited to get to this, but I am holding off to reading this for when I'm in Italy. I feel like this is going to be the perfect book to read when I'm on holidays. I'm going to start it on the plane and I'm going to just read it the whole time that I'm there, and I'm going to have the best time because Callie Fortune is one of my favourite authors. I love her so much. I honestly do. And I have already done my reread of Every Summer After, so I'm ahead of the game. Okay, I've done my reread. I read Every Summer After 2 or 3 years ago. I think it was about 3 years ago, so I did my reread. You don't have to do a reread, but it's recommended. I recommend you do the reread. It just adds to the whole. I think it's going to add to the character growth. Okay, it really is. And then we've got A Love Like the Sun. So this is on my TBR for August. So this is by Rhys M. Nielsen. And then I've told you about Before I Let Go. We've got Laura Wood's Let's Make a Scene. Now, there is a first book to this which is called Under Your Spell, which someone commented on my TBR video and I didn't realise, so I think I might want to read the first book before I go in with this, just so I can have like the full experience. Do you know what I mean? And then moving on, I'm gonna quick fire go through these, okay guys, because we've been filming for a while. So we've got Fae of Snow of Ice, book number 1, which is A Court of Winter by Krista Street. We've got then A Promise, Noah Winter's Promise, which has again been on my TBR for quite a while. I feel like I just need to be in the mood for this for some reason, but it's YA, so it could be easy to get into. And then a book that I'm really excited to get to. This has been like, I've been umming and ahhing putting this on my TBR for quite a while, like on my monthly TBRs, but I never actually put it on my monthly TBR. But I'm gonna be getting into this quite soon, I think. It's like a gothic dark academia book, I think. But it's called Gothicana by Runix, and I'm excited to get to this. Is it a dark romance? If it's a dark romance, I have got a video coming up soon where this could play part, so I'll have to look into that. And then we've got a Brandon Sanderson book, just this one Brandon Sanderson book, which is book number 1 in the Miss Bond series. Will I read this? I have no idea. And then we've got these 2 Rebecca Ross books. I really need to read these, guys. These have been in my TBR for quite a while. There's A River Enchanted and A Fire Endless. This is book number 1 and book number 2. It's just a duology, I think. It's just a duology, but I do really want to get to these because she's already bringing out another book, Rebecca Ross. I think it comes out either this month or September. I can't remember what it's called. I'll pop it on the screen, but I need to catch up. I need to read some of her backlog before she brings out too many books and I'm left behind. And then we've got Sanctuary of the Shadow by Aurora Asher. This is meant to give, like, someone said like Carol vibes but make it adult, so I was like, sold. Legends and Lattes by Travis Baldry. Now, I bought this last year for like the autumn vibe, but I never got round to reading it, so I've been holding off this year from picking this up, and then when fall autumn comes I will be picking this up. And then we got The Stars Are Dying by Chloe C. Penaranda. I apologise, I've probably butchered that. But I've recently only picked this up, so this is quite a new addition to my TBR. But I'm going to be reading this on my Kindle. Do you want to know why? Because look at the size on that writing. Look at it. It's non-existent, okay? It's literally non-existent. I don't know how anyone could read that. And then we've got Daughter of the Drowned Empire by Frankie Diane Malice. This is another book that's been on and off my TBR, and I never get round to reading it, but I know that I'm going to enjoy this because the back of this sounds so good. but I never get around to reading it. So I think I might do a whole another video where I read books that have been in my TBR for too long, because I did really enjoy doing that video, so maybe this could feature in there. Another new edition is The Gilded Crown by Marianne Gordon. I picked this up when I went to Manchester with Danny, when I went to go see, who did I go see? Oh my god, I went to go see Nessa. What? I went to go see Nessa and Tate like 2 weekends apart, so I was like, which one did I go see, because they were both in Manchester. But I picked this up when I went to go see Nessa, so this hasn't been on my TBR for that long. The back sounded interesting, so it'll probably be on my TBR for quite a while, knowing me. Secondly, we've got Realm Breaker, and then where's the second book to this? I do have the second book. Okay, it's at the back bit here. The second one is Blade Breaker by Victoria Aveyard. Continuing on, we've got, okay, I finished that shelf, moving on down. We've got Emily Wilde's Encyclopedia of Fairies. Danny recently gave this to me. She said that, I think she read it, but Danny was doing a whole unhaul of books as well, and whenever we do like an unhaul of books, I show her the books that I have first before I like put them up on Vinted, and she does the same with me. And if we like any, sometimes I had some books that I had to give her and she had some books to give me, so we just did a straight swap. But yeah, she gave me this because I do really want to read this, but for some reason I just never pick it up when I go to the bookshop, because there's always like other books that I want to get. But I do want to get to this. I am intrigued, so I have got that. That was a recent edition, thanks to Danny. And another recent edition, thanks to Danny, is From the Embers. Now, I want to read this. I want to give it a go. It's quite a short book, and I've seen everyone on TikTok, so I do want to give this a go. We've got Wings of Starlight by Alison Saft. I did speak about this in my 24 readathon. I was going to read it. It's meant to be like a Pixie Hollow sort of situation, like Queen of Pixie Hollow and the King of the Wilderwood. No, Winterwood, not Wilderwood. He's a Winterwood. Yeah. So he's the Lord of the Winterwood. Sorry, I apologise. Queen of Pixie Hollow and the Lord of the Winterwoods. Okay, yeah. Anything to do with Disney, like a Disney retelling kind of situation, sign me up. And then we've got Burnout by Rebecca Jenshack. Now this was recently sent to me by a lovely one of you, by Alexa, so thank you, Alexa. I have been meaning to get to this, and I will get to it eventually, I promise. We've got Emily Carter's Retrograde, which is meant to be like a F1, not F1, but it is a racing thing. I picked this up from The Works, and there is like a second book out as well, so I do want to give this a go. I'd like a lot of these books that kind of sit on my TBR for a while. I know they're going to be palette cleansers. Like, I know I'm not going to love this, but it's just going to be like the average book that I kind of need in between books or series that I'm reading. Now, I apologise if you've moved again. It's because I had to put my camera on charge, so I apologise. You've definitely moved, because I had to move you across the room and then bring you back over. Well, anyway, where was we? Okay, next book. We have got A Good Girl's Guide to Murder. I have no reason why I haven't read it yet. I think I want to listen to the audiobook while I read this. But again, I think I might save it for like October time. But we've got Elle Kennedy's No. We've got Ali Hazelwood's Deep End. I don't know why I haven't read this. Well, I do know actually. I tell a lie. It's because I've seen so many mixed reviews. The only reason why I picked it up is because it's a sports romance. I think they're like college swimmers of some sort. I have no idea. Or Olympic people. No idea. But I've seen so many mixed reviews about this. So it's been pushed back and pushed back. So I will get to it eventually. We've got Lana Ferguson's The Game Changer. I think I've recently bought this. Did I? I don't know. But this is a hockey romance. And then we got One on One by Jamie Harlow. Basketball. That's why it's on my TBR, but don't ask me why I haven't read it. The Striker. Another sport romance, but this is football. Not what you Americans call football, but what us UK and European people call football. The round one. Or for you American people, soccer. Oh my god, it literally says on the back Premier League. I was not expecting that. Asher Donovan is a living legend, the darling of the Premier League. What? Does it have a team? Is it like a UK team? It doesn't say the team, but is there like a UK team in here who he plays for? Like, is it going to be like Man City or something like that? Or something really random? And then lastly, we got Love Life Farms. I picked this up to read last Christmas. Did I read it last Christmas? No, I didn't. So again, I can't really read it until it's Christmas time again. Now let's turn this bad boy around. We've got these Nisha J. Tooley books, which are Trial of the Sun Queen and Rule of the Aurora King. Now I have softy enough this book. I think I got up about 40 or 50 pages into it and I just wasn't feeling it. And then I started my 24-hour readathon and I just thought I was slumping, but I wasn't slumping because as soon as I started my 24-hour readathon, I was flying through books. So I think it was just this that I wasn't in the mood for. But I was really intrigued by the concept, but I hadn't gotten into the depth of the story yet. Like I know I hadn't, because where I left off was like she was still in this hole. If you've read it then you know she was still in this hole, she was still in this prison. So yeah, I hadn't really gotten the depths of the story yet, but I will give it a go. And then obviously this is the second one. And then we have got another 2 books that I have of a series, which are Serpent and Dove and Blood and Honey. This is like a witch and witch hunter book. I never have the best of lucks with the witch and witch hunter books, so I think that's why I keep on putting these off. And then we've got Starling House by Alex E. Harrow. Now I picked this up because it was the book of the month in Waterstones, and whenever they have the book of the month it's like usually at the front, and like the man was like, he looked at the books that I was buying and he was like, oh my god, our book of the month would like, I think you'd really love it based on the books you're buying. And he was telling me a bit about it and I was like, that sounds really interesting, but for some reason I've just never picked it up. And then another 2 book that I have, this is a duology. We've got Mary E. Pearson's Dance of Thieves and Vow of Thieves. I've got these 2 books, but I do want to read the first, I think it's a trilogy, it's like Kiss of Deception. I do want to read those before I read these, just because, you know, I like to read things in order. It works best in my brain. So even though these are on my TBR, I can read them before, but I'm not going to read them until I read The Kiss of Deception. And then we've got Claire Legrand's A Crown of Ivy and Glass. This is the first book in a series. I bought this so long ago. I even think there's like maybe a second or third book out by now, but the back of this does sound really interesting, but it's just so big that I'm never like intrigued enough to pick it up. And then we've got R.M.'s Grey Nightweaver. This has been on and off of a few of my monthly TBRs, but I am intrigued to get to it. It's a YA sort of pirate fantasy, and when I read Daughter of the Pirate King, I discovered that I really like pirate books, so I am gonna give that a go one day soon. And then this series, which is the Legend Bond series, the Legend Bond series. We got Legend Bond and Blood Marked, which is by Tracy Dion. These are like more of a dystopian kind of fantasy book. Now moving on to our last and final shelf on this TBR, we have got another set of 2 books, which is Six of Crows and Crooked Kingdom. Now you guys convinced me to read these 2 books. You've all said to me that I don't have to read the first series, which is, what's the first series called? Shadow and Bone trilogy. Yeah, you guys said that I don't have to read that, so I'm just gonna go in with the Six of Crows. I trust you guys' opinion. I'm just gonna go in with these 2. A new addition to my TBR is For She Is Wrath by Emily Varga. Very intrigued to get to this, very excited. We got Foxglove King by Hannah Whitten. Now the first 2 books that I read by Hannah Whitten were For the Wolf, I think it was called. Yeah, For the Wolf, and I really didn't get along with that. The prophecy and everything was too confusing. The way she wrote was so like poetic that it was very confusing for me. So I don't know whether this is going to be the same, but I am going to give it a go anyway. Secret History by Donna's Heart. Will I read this ever? I have no idea, but it's still on my TBR and it still appears every physical TBR video I do. We got Dragonfall by L.R. Lamb. I think this was on my unhaul, but I decided to keep it. I don't know why. I read the back of it and it was something to do with like humans betraying dragons and sealing the magic, and I was like, I'm not getting rid of this. Why did I ever think of getting rid of this? So I am intrigued to read that. And then on to our last 2 books on the TBR card. We have got Phantasma by Kaylee Smith. I have softy enough this as well because I just wasn't in the mood to read it. I think I got up maybe like 60 to 80 pages in, somewhere around that mark, and I just had to softy enough. I was really intrigued. But it was in the 3rd person and I was kind of slumping. I just needed something easy to read and this was not that. So back on the TBR it goes. And then lastly we have got A Broken Blade by Melissa Blair. This is the Halfling series saga. Now this is meant to be another sort of Thrown Out Glass-esque where she's like an assassin assassin working for someone. Yeah, so she is the King's Blade. She's a trained, talented spy for the kingdom. She's the king's favourite assassin, and it literally says perfect for fans of Throne of Glass. So I'm gonna give it a go. And that was my lovelies, all of my TBR car. And then we've got some books by here that I'm just gonna quickly show you. Just quickly. Now I've just zoomed you in a bit, but right by here we've got these books that I'm not gonna pull off because everything's like on top of them, but I just keep them here as like decoration. There's some books here that are on my TBR though that I haven't read yet, but they're all pink books. They go with my pink room, so that's why they're on like this shelf by here. We've got Problematic Summer by Ali Hazelwood. I haven't read that yet. I'm gonna hold off, and I think I might read that when I go to Italy. There's a few books that I've mentioned that I want to take when I go to Italy, but there's a few that stand out to me, which are One Golden Summer and Problematic Summer. We've got Holding the Reins by Paisley Co-op. That's been my TBR for quite a while. It's a cowboy romance, so I think I would enjoy it. Maybe. I've seen a lot of people love it. And then lastly, but yeah, we've got Funny You Should Ask. This was on my unhaul, but I decided not to get rid of it because I don't know, it just looked like a good palette cleanser book, and I think I would enjoy it. Can't remember what it's about, don't ask me, but I feel like I could enjoy it, so I put it back on my TBR. But guys, that was everything on my physical TBR. I hope you guys enjoyed. Let me know in the comments if your guess was close. I wonder if mine is. Future Brie only knows. But I do hope you guys enjoyed. Let me know also while you're in the comments if you've read any of the books, because I do love chatting to you guys in the comments. You all know that. And while you're down there, don't forget to subscribe, give it a thumbs up, all that jazz that I always ask you to do. And I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye!